Is attorney and Republican strategist Erin Elmore, Project 21 National Advisory Board member and radio host Christopher Arps, and constitutional law attorney, former prosecutor and Newsmax contributor Ameer Benno. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Erin, I want to get to that raid, of course, of former President Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago. Now, the left-wing media really struggling out, speaking of wording, to figure out if they should call this a raid or not. Take a listen.
Agents, by the way, don't like the word raid. They don't like it. It sounds like it's some kind of, extrajudicial, non-legal thing. They want to say they executed a search warrant. All of that going on, meticulous searching. I've seen situations where devices, electronic devices, thumb drives.
Yeah, the key phrase there. The word raid sounds like. Well, if you even look up the definition, I mean, a quick Google there is pretty clear. There were lights, tons of police cars. This wasn't a polite knock on the door. Hi, we have a search warrant. So, Ameer, if the FBI actually, Erin, I want you to react to that.
So you go pre-dawn to Mar-a-Lago with 30 armed officers and start going through Melania's clothes. It's a raid. And hear me out here. Under the Fourth Amendment, that's what protects our right to unlawful search and seizures. It needs to be probable cause that a crime has been committed and precisely say the place to be searched and the thing to be seized. President Trump hasn't been there since Memorial Day. This probable cause has to be fresh. What haven't they had? They had plenty of time. President Trump was working with the FBI for 9 months. When the FBI got there, they asked that the security cameras be turned off. That is a raid. That is unconstitutional. There are so many problems with this. Why would they not let Trump's lawyers touch and feel and see the warrant? Why would they not let Trump's lawyers follow them? Because that would protect them from planting evidence. This is honestly really scary. I could go on and on. The judge that authorized the warrant had pre his being appointed as a judge or running for judge, he had anti-Trump comments on his Facebook page. He recused himself from another case involving Trump and Hillary Clinton. Ameer can add to what I'm saying here, but there are so many problems surrounding this raid, surrounding this search and seizure, surrounding the constitutionality. It is absolutely staggering and terrifying for our democracy that we live in as Americans in a free country.
Yeah, Ameer, I'm going to let you pick up where Erin left off.
Excuse me. Well, look, we don't know enough yet. I mean, in a few days, we'll get the warrant return, which is going to say what was actually a listing of what was taken during this. And hopefully we'll be able to see ultimately the affidavit that went to support this, the application for the warrant. And then we'll have a sense as to what was the FBI looking for and what was the basis for the probable cause, and was there probable cause? There are, as Erin correctly points out, a lot of questions about the judge, about the manner in which it was executed, about the fact that it wasn't, there was no prior negotiation with the president's team to try to do this in a less aggressive way. That is alarming. And of course, the rank politicization of the FBI, as we've seen it over the last few years. So there's a lot of reasons for people to be very skeptical about this raid, but we just don't have enough information right now to be able to parse it intelligently.
All right, Ameer, Erin, and Chris, we'll see you at the top of next hour. Our panel, attorney and Republican strategist Erin Elmore, Project 21 National Advisory Board member and radio host Christopher Arps, and constitutional law attorney, former prosecutor and Newsmax contributor Ameer Benno. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hi there.
All right. Well, so former President Trump says he took the fifth when he was questioned from New York by New York Attorney General Letitia James over his business dealings. Ameer, to you first. I mean, we often hear the phrase, I will plead the fifth. Explain what this actually means, but also what this could mean for former President Trump and also for Attorney General James and her investigation.
So this is a civil proceeding that's looking into certain allegations of wrongdoing regarding taxes and overvaluing property values or undervaluing them to get some sort of tax advantage. And so the Attorney General has deposed the president, which means that ask questions to the president under oath. So the president is sworn to tell the truth. So when they ask questions and there's a risk that any of those kind of questions might be used criminally in another proceeding to prosecute the president, they can assert the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment to the Constitution is your right to be free from self-incrimination, a privilege against self-incrimination. The government can't force you to incriminate yourself. So you plead the Fifth, then you don't have to answer that question, the substantive answer to the question, and that would shield you from any criminal liability. But because this is a civil case, ultimately, if this case proceeds to a trial, the jury will be told that he asserted the Fifth Amendment, and they will be permitted, although not required, to draw an inference that had he given an answer to that question, that it would have been unhelpful to him or hurtful to his case. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, what it means for him to have asserted the Fifth Amendment here.
Erin, you're also an attorney, and it was interesting because all of the left-wing and mainstream media outlets, or most of them yesterday, were showing clips of former President Trump saying that only a mobster would plead the Fifth. Then you would only plead the Fifth if you're guilty of something. So they had a field day with that. But what they overlooked was that former President Trump explained the fact that he took the Fifth. He said, listen, I always thought you only do this if you're guilty, but based on the attacks that I have been under this past week, I realized this is something I have to do. So, Erin, your interpretation of former President Trump deciding to, quote unquote, take the Fifth?
I mean, I think Ameer did an excellent job explaining this from the legal perspective, but from the practicals perspective, we saw what happened last week at Mar-a-Lago. We see that we're barely living in America. This looks more like Venezuela, Russia, Cuba, where we are going after a former president at his home at a dawn raid. No wonder President Trump didn't feel comfortable speaking with Letitia James, who is a political opportunist seeking to advance her career at any cost, who has a personal vendetta against President Trump. Sure, President Trump in the past may have made certain comments, but our world and our universe and our country has changed drastically in the last 2 years. And people like Letitia James and those that are the talking heads on CNN have terrible Trump derangement syndrome, and they want to do anything and everything that they can to take this man down. So if I were advising President Trump, if Ameer were advising President Trump, I bet you we would have advised him to do the exact same thing. Protect yourself in this civil matter from these political sharks who are trying to hurt you and harm you.
Yeah, Erin, that's a great point. Former President Trump did say that he took the advice of his lawyer. So, Chris, joining me this morning, our panel, attorney and Republican strategist Erin Elmore, Project 21 National Advisory Board member and radio host Christopher Arps, and constitutional law attorney, former prosecutor, and Newsmax contributor Ameer Benno, the ultimate multi-hyphenate, Ameer Benno. All right, welcome back, panel. Welcome back, panel. All right, so here is what we have learned. The federal magistrate, Bruce Reinhart, who was once linked to Jeffrey Epstein and donated to former President Obama, allegedly signed off on that search warrant. Now, Newsmax host John Bachman interviewed him years ago when he defended an IRS official. Let's take a listen to that.
Incompetence doesn't necessarily lead to criminality. So
which out of those two scenarios right there seems more likely to you at this point?
Within the IRS, probably incompetence. The IRS has one of the most antiquated computer systems in the world.
Of course, that was a discussion about Lois Lerner. He says the IRS is completely incompetent. The IRS now, of course, getting a lot of money potentially getting a lot of money in the new quote unquote Inflation Reduction Act. Ameer, put this all together for us.
Well, listen, everybody comes with their history. He's on the left, obviously, just talking about the IRS and 87,000 new agents that they're going to target conservatives, clearly like Lois Lerner did. So we're going to see a revival of that politicization of that agency as well. But I know that's not what the focus on this is. The fact that he signed the warrant, it's again, I think, too soon to tell whether or not there was probable cause for him to do it. And so we can look into his background, but, judges come from having practiced oftentimes. And when you practice, you represent a variety of different clients, and those clients may be savory or unsavory. And we have to just be careful not to attribute to a particular judge or a particular attorney certain attributes of the clients that they represented in the past. So I'm going to hold judgment on the judges signing off on this warrant until we know more information.
Well said. Go ahead, Erin. You had something to say.
I'm definitely going to disagree. I mean, I agree with Ameer that we do need to see what the probable cause looks like, but there could be a judicial ethics complaint here because this judge did go on social media and say negative things about President Trump. He probably should have recused himself, but perhaps his feet were held to the fire politically. This is wrong. We have a judge that already recused himself when there was a lawsuit between Trump and Hillary that is still pending. So honestly, he should have done the right thing here and said, I've known that I've said bad things about President Trump. I'm not equipped to speak on this matter. And I do think that there are judicial ethics concerns at play here. And although there may or may not be probable cause, of course, Ameer is 100% white. We do not know, but his character and his morality and his judicial responsibility are definitely in question.
All right.